what makes a really great apartment. A lot of it has to do with light and connectivity, and in this location it's trying to make apartments that don't feel like apartments. It's making apartments that feel like houses.
Hi, I'm Tamarika. I'm an associate at SJB and I was the project architect on the Kurraba Residences.
And my name's Adam Haddo. I'm a partner at SJB and I was the design leader for the project.
So we're at Kurraba Point, which is on a peninsula that sits out into the Harbour of Sydney. And we're on the land of the Camaragal people of the Kurraba tribe.
Kurraba Point is one of those gorgeous moments in Sydney where the fingers of the landscape come into the harbour. One of those rare pieces of real estate in Sydney that you can occupy and look back towards the city. So instead of looking from the city to the North Shore, you're looking from the North Shore back towards the Opera House and the bridge. It's exquisite, really. If we think about your experience of entering the building, the landscape edge is really heavily landscaped so that over time it'll feel like the building is emerging from the landscape as opposed to sitting in it. And the materiality of the building is very much about ground. So the colour of the brickwork is quite earthy, and the intent is that it feels like a piece of landscape that's just been inhabited as opposed to a piece of architecture which sits on the landscape.
Entering the building is a series of kind of expansions and contractions, but also a sense of kind of leaving the world and returning home. So you take the ramp or the stairs down into this kind of beautiful green space thanks to Dangar Barron-Smith, and the noise falls away and there's a sense of calm and serenity as you kind of arrive home.
All of the spaces around the main entry point are sculpted to create a sense of intrigue and interest so that you're kind of always promised another space, so that when you come in, you see a kind of gap or an outlook to another space, and that kind of intrigues you to work a little bit further, and then that introduces you to the central heart of the project, which is the landscape courtyard, and then from that landscape courtyard, all the entries to the buildings come from that location. There's a kind of sense of privacy, I suppose you'd say. They're much more domestic than a civic building, so there's a sense of calmness, quietness, smallness even. And then you kind of go into those lobbies, and then you only ever share that lobby with a small number of people, and that means that there's kind of a sense of you own that lobby space as much as you own your apartment. And then when you come into your apartment, the lobby doors open and you see the view. So there's this kind of sense of protection and reveal, but then expansive views that are kind of offered to you once you enter your apartment.
I'm Philip Mathieson. I'm the director of Mathieson Architects. We're a small architectural and interior design studio. And on Kurraba Residences, we were commissioned to work with SJB on the interiors of the project. One of our general approaches as a studio is really about a kind of a commitment to a degree of restraint. The design approach of the project was really about capturing that kind of house-like essence into an apartment. We used dark stained oak as a contrast to use of limestone throughout, and then some other accent materials, whether that's the use of bronze and then Grigio Argento marble.
Collaborating with Mathieson and Third Eye is about achieving excellence. So, you are challenged to ensure that everything you do on the project is the best you can ever do. And so, working with people who are renowned in their field and who, bring excellence to every project, it's a kind of joy project to work on.
We had a really amazing journey on this process, working with SJB. The success of the project is really for us down to the execution of details. Just a lot of time spent on just coordination and making that kind of architecture in the interiors just totally seamless, whether it was those kind of balcony details or just working through services so that those things could all be hidden away.
When you're on Sydney Harbour, the challenge is how to not dominate the harbour, how not to make the architecture the icon when you kind of can appreciate how amazing the landscape is. So the opportunity is, how do you make a building that is quiet and respectful and engaged? And the constraints are, how do you ensure that it doesn't dominate and overtake? So, I think we've made a building which is really genuflex to the landscape. Like it lets the landscape be the hero and lets the harbour be the hero, and lets the people who live here live in that landscape.
I also think the natural environment and the kind of peninsular environment give skew more dramatic license. So some of the kind of more playful and fun shapes, I don't think we'd get away with in a more kind of rectilinear urban environment.
Yeah.
So I think
It's more organic.
it is.
It's more fluid, yeah.
It's more fun. We foster a sense of community by minimising the number of apartments around a local lobby. So the idea is that each lobby has a maximum of 3 apartments, meaning you'll actually get to know your neighbours. The entire development is also broken up into 3 buildings, meaning that you'll interact with the same people in the stairs, in the lift. And then I think most of all, the communal open space that overlooks the Harbour and the Opera House. I think everyone will see everyone there on New Year's Eve fireworks night.
What makes the communal rooftop special is that everyone gets to experience it. Often in Sydney, real estate is about owning something, and actually creating the opportunity for people to share something is of so much more value, really, because it not only gives the people an opportunity to meet each other, people who live in their building the opportunity to meet each other, but it also means that everyone gets this really amazing, iconic view, sit out, enjoy the sun, and I think that level of proximity and that sense of generosity that comes about by sharing things with others is really what makes it fantastic.
In addition to expansive apartments and incredible green spaces, the residents also have access to a concierge as well as a wine cellar that they can book out, store their wine, and host events and gatherings down there.
I think the thing I'm most proud of is that buildings like this take 7 years to come from the first time you draw something to the point of finishing the building and sitting here. And I'm kind of most proud that there's a continuity of thought from the start to the end, that some of those original ideas about the fingers of buildings sitting into the harbour and the simplicity of the materiality is still here. It's kind of the bedrock of the project, and to see that come through at the end, I think I'm super proud of that. I'm super proud that the brick looks effortless and simple and has a beautiful colour to it and texture to it, and things like that take a lot of effort. So I'm super proud of those details.
I'm most proud of the central courtyard space. I think sometimes it's incredibly hard to get people to buy into spaces that seem like an afterthought, but the amount of coordination and just thought that went into that central space and to make it feel effortless, there was a lot of effort. So I really love that space, and I've had a few people come up to me and say that they didn't realise what an incredible space it was going to be. So that's a joyful moment for me.
Yeah.